Okay, hello everybody. My name is Luke, and today I'm joined with Carlos Lugo. Now, a lot of you guys may know him at school as the funny guy, the crazy guy, but today we're going to be interviewing him because what are you doing in about a month?
I'm going into the Army.
To the Army. So I guess first let's start off with the simple question. Actually, what day are you going in?
July 15th.
July 15th.
That's like...
Hang out with him before then. So I guess you start off with, why did you decide to join the military?
Well, a big factor is I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And I kind of don't know, like, what my interests are. So the military is, like, a good path for learning and kind of discovering who I am. And also just, finding who I am, like, personally. Like, because I still don't know who the type of person I am. I don't know what I'm capable of. I don't know my strengths or weaknesses all that well. And that's kind of a good avenue to, like, explore that route and learn new things.
When did you decide you wanted to join? Because I've known him since 6th grade. We known each other since 6th grade. I knew that he always wanted to be, like, a cartoonist. He always drew comics in middle school. When did you decide?
It's kind of like... I thought about the military as, like, a career option because, like, I kind of knew that I wasn't going to really get far with, like, animation because I wasn't really good at it and I couldn't really afford to go to school and, like, purchase all that stuff. And, I didn't really have the time either. It was just I'd rather have that more of a hobby as, like, instead of my job. But I thought about all the branches. I talked to Navy recruiters. I talked to Air Force recruiters, Marines, Army. The Army's kind of the last people I turned to. But first...
Why was it the last people you turned to?
I didn't really think about it because I didn't really know too much about other branches and, like, what they offer. But for a while, it was the Marine Corps, and the reason why was because I didn't really care too much about, like, money or anything. It was just kind of more, like, respect and, like, that sense of belonging to, like, a team because it's such a small group. It's like their whole thing is Semper Fi, which is, like, brotherhood.
Yeah.
But, I kind of talked to a lot of people in the military, family, friends, and they're just kind of like, the Marines, like, they're not, like, the best if you want to make a career out of this, like, if you want to have a long-term career out of this, and the Army just kind of has way more benefits, and, like, I can pick my own job. Deployments don't last super long. They're long, obviously, it's deployment, but, I get to at least come home, I get 30 days paid vacation, I get a 17 grand sign-on bonus with my contract. There's just a lot more to, like, kind of dip my toes into that field.
More offer. I feel like there's more to offer.
Yeah, there's more to offer. It's not just one specific thing. There's a lot.
So as many of you guys may know, Carlos has not had the most easiest year currently at the moment. I mean, probably past few years. Especially recently, you have almost pretty much been homeless. Like, let's just be honest. You're staying at, multiple people's houses. My house, I wish. My house, a couple friends' houses. Can you tell us kind of, like, how did you get into this situation? Like, why is it that in the last 2 weeks of school you ended up having to stay at multiple people's houses, all this stuff? I mean, not even just the last 2 weeks, but, for the past couple months.
Well, there's always been, like, kind of like that disconnect with myself and, like, my family. Kind of hard to explain, but, like, it's kind of like it's a toxic environment. It's not really, like, there's not room for me to, like, grow or, like, flourish. And
did you feel like, could you make mistakes there? Or did you feel like...
Not really, because usually I could never, ever seem to do anything right. So it just kind of seems like, it's on and on and on and on. Constant arguments and fighting all the time, every single day. I just kind of, like, isolated myself in my room, and it wasn't a good time, and it wasn't good for my head, being alone all the time. So I decided to just kind of, like, branch out, like, just leave, so I can clear my head. I've been hanging out with a bunch of different people, and I kind of, the big thing I look at is, like, what other people's situations are like. I don't have the worst situation ever. You know, there's always other people that struggle way more than I do. But like, you know, I always look at like there's always a bright side to every situation, I guess. So that's kind of like what keeps me going. Like, oh, you know, it could be worse. Like I could actually be homeless on the streets instead of homeless in the sense where I don't have a solid home guaranteed every night.
Yeah.
Uh, so you know, and it wasn't fun. Uh, I don't like having people let me borrow their things, or like I don't like staying at people's houses for like more than 2 days, because I just kind of feel like a burden on them, because it's kind of like, oh, there's Carlos again, you know.
Yeah.
Where else is he gonna go? I can't let him like go outside. And you know, so it's just kind of like, and then I kind of like started to like push them away, like trying to figure things out on myself. And you know, good. Luckily, graduation comes. That's the one thing they wanted. Blank slate with my family. It's like a kind of a redo. Usually just with my parents though, but with like my other siblings, they've done things, said things that I don't think I can forgive them yet for.
Yeah. That's a good segue though to my next question I was gonna ask is, on graduation, like keep this in mind, you know, you've been out of your house for a while, and on graduation, your family does show up. Did that make you? I know, like you just said that you know they've done things, but did that make you almost kind of like? Did you kind of? How did you feel when you saw them? I guess.
I didn't want to like always have a negative attitude towards them. You know, like people say, oh, you know, they're not fair to you. They don't treat you right or anything. But it's like, you know, what the fuck else do I got? You know, it's like you can't really stay mad at your parents forever, because that's all you're gonna have. Like that's all you're gonna have eventually. Like, you know, like you just, you know, one day car breaks down. You can't really call a friend. You know, they have their own lives. Who, you know, people will just go to their mom or their dad or whatever. And like if I didn't have that, like I'd be screwed. I wouldn't have anything. I don't have like like a relationship like that. But
Yeah.
like when they did show up, it's just like kind of like, okay, well they're here now, so that means they're gonna be there in the future.
Did you feel that Did you feel like they did it because they were proud of you, or that they felt obligated, or?
I don't think they felt obligated to show up to my graduation, because you know, you don't really have to show up to anything. I mean, like I was probably just gonna go somewhere else if I couldn't go home that night. So it wasn't like, I always have a plan A through Z. Like if something goes wrong, then I'll have something else in my mind. So I'm always busy, busy, busy. You know, I don't really have time to like stop, think, and reflect on myself. So like when they're there, it's just kind of like, all right, I just kind of stick with this as long as I can, so I don't have to keep resorting to backup plans.
So, this next question is very serious, but you did post something about it on your Snapchat story. This is kind of about the reflecting. So was it about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
So, a little disclaimer, this is true, but you know, this is going to be a raw interview, and obviously, you know, just be comfortable, be yourself. We're not judging. But 2 years ago, Carlos, you did try to take your life. You did try to drown yourself. But no, now you're here, which is great. How did that change the way you view life? After that moment, what did you realize? How did you feel right before that, and then right after that?
I guess right before I was sent to the hospital, I was just kind of like, man, I'm really lost. Like, my vision is just really foggy, and I can't really see, 5 feet in front of me. Like,
Well, I'm saying in the your mental state right before you did try to take your life, like why did you, what was the final, like, this is it, like, I don't want to do this anymore, I don't want to.
I think it was, I try to push that kind of away. I don't like to think about it much. I don't know, my brain kind of did a good job at kind of preventing that from ever existing. If I didn't have that Snapchat memory, I probably wouldn't have even realized, like, oh, that was the day. I probably would have just remembered, like, the recovery part of it. I don't really remember much of, like, the action phase, I guess, because it was just really fast.
It was just all sudden, like, you just, at that moment, you said, this is it, I don't care.
Yeah, I was just kind of like, well, I don't know what else to do.
Well, luckily, nothing bad happened, and then how did that make you realize, like, okay, this is not, this life is worth living?
Well, so I spent 2 weeks at Aurora, and there's people who are similar
What's
similar
Aurora?
situations.
Sorry.
It's a behavioral center for people like me.
Okay.
That so there was just a bunch of people there that were kind of like going through the same things. Some people had it worse. I'm not trying to like compare or anything. You can't really compare someone's life to someone else's. You kind of have what you got, and you deal with it. But it was a good learning experience, just kind of hearing everyone else's story, and I'm just like, oh wow, and they recover really well. They're like completely different people, and I still contact some of them still today. And I don't really like talk much, but I can just kind of see what they're doing, and they're just like, most of them are just like having fun, enjoying the small things, and that's kind of like what I like to do. I just kind of stop and just kind of look at myself, and I look back at I kind of like look at my surroundings, and I'm like, this
all
is
the
like,
flowers stuff.
yeah, it's like,
cliche, but whatever.
like this is it could be worse. That's always what I say. It could be worse. Like when I was out of the house, I just kept saying to myself like, it could be worse. I was walking all around Escondido, or I would get a ride from someone, but I would not. One day did I ever felt like sad or lost, because I just kind of like always have like I keep a positive attitude towards everything I do.
I mean, it's true. A lot of people, they only think about the bad things in their lives, but if you look at the good things, it's probably much more vast.
Yeah, so I do get upset, from time to time, but I always just stop and check myself. I'm like, is it really worth being sad for like a whole day, a week, a month? It's not.
Yeah.
There's always something else you could do. There's always a way to get better. There's always you could always find a path to just kind of remember it always sucks, but it kind of has to be if it wants to get good.
Yeah. Thank you for talking about that stuff. I know it's really emotional and touching. Looking back at yourself, let's just say 6th grade self, sure, middle school self, what would you have told yourself if you can give one piece of advice to your older self, or younger self, I guess? What would you have said?
See, that's something I like to ask myself too. Just kind of where I am now and where I was even a couple months ago. I'm always changing, and if I could say anything to myself, my younger self, I guess in middle school, it would be just, you don't have to work for everyone if you want to be happy or to be noticed or anything, because
So do you kind of mean by you feel like you're, I guess back then you're constantly kind of pleasing people, or trying to make,
my whole thing
putting them instead of you?
Yeah, no one is ever going to be more important than yourself, and if you don't have self-love, then you can't really love anything else, because you would rely on someone else to give you that feeling. But
poetry.
But middle school me, I was super awkward, and it was much different time for me. I found enjoyment out of YouTube videos or gaming and stuff, but now I kind of find enjoyment in just looking outside or talking to people, experiencing life. And I wish I never spent so much time on self-hatred instead of instead of saying oh, I can't, I should have just done why shouldn't I,
Yeah.
Instead of saying there's really no you can't, it's you won't.
Okay.
So it's oh, I can't do this, I'm too tired. You won't do it because you're putting it off for some reason. There's always
excuses.
There's always a reason to do anything. And I just kind of carried that attitude with me, and I kind of got pretty far. I'm in the military now.
Yeah.
I never would have thought to myself in a million years, if you asked me in middle school, oh, did you know that you ever think about joining the military? I would have said no. My perspective as a person has changed.
Really closed-minded back then. Right?
Yeah, it was just kind of this is all I have to care about right now, because in the future it's gonna figure something out. But you can't just keep relying on something working out for you. I kind of got lucky, and it kind of did sometimes, but when it didn't, it was really shitty. So you kind of have to work with your surroundings. You have to plan. You can't just keep living every day it's just a new thing. Like you kind of have to plan your next move.
Would you was there any point in your life that like, because like I said, your life at home wasn't the best. I kind of asked you this before, on a car ride. But was there any point when you're like afterwards you said like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or maybe you're saying to yourself like that wasn't the best idea. Maybe I should just keep my mouth shut, or like was there any point in life when you kind of think back and you're like, wasn't the best idea?
Yeah. So, I definitely shouldn't have left because I feel like it would have just made my situation a lot easier. But then again, I feel like if I haven't left, I wouldn't have kind of found my own voice. Because, before it was just kind of like, just shut up, do your own thing, just like deal with it.
You would take it. You would
yeah,
just take all
just
the
deal
crap.
with it. And then, like, they're not going to be there forever. Eventually you graduate, you go to the military, you're done. But, you can't, I couldn't do that anymore. I wanted my own voice.
You want to take a stand, pretty much.
Yeah, so the first step to that was just leaving. My parents said, you're not allowed to go out this weekend. If you need to make some money, sell something in the garage sale. And I was like, yeah, no. I just walked away, and I was working for one of my friend's parents in their yard. Just doing yard work, and I did that for a couple people. And I got most of the stuff that I needed to pay for squared away. And my parents were just obviously very upset at me. They were just saying things, and it was the first time I ever really talked back. I was just like, that's bullshit, It's like I need to do what I need to do.
But at that moment, did you feel kind of like free?
Yeah, at that moment, I was just like, this is awesome. But like when I look back on it, I'm like, you're stupid, because like I kind of set myself up to fail right there.
Yeah. During your time, I guess just during senior year, did you ever feel like and you don't rat you don't have to stitch anybody out, you don't rat anybody out, but was there any times when your friends you kind of wish like, almost like you said let's do something, or let's do this, or you just wish your friends would almost have said like, no, you can't do that, you need to be looking for a job, or you need to be doing your homework? Was there at any point where you just kind of like, it was almost like you just wish somebody would have kind of just kind of came in and just like helped you out at that moment?
Yeah, there were times, but it wasn't really for like, most of the time they were small, like just kind of like personal things, like, oh, instead of like going to a party, I should do something else. You're like, oh, maybe I should, slow down with like, whatever people do at parties, like relax a little bit. But I didn't, because I was like, I've never done this before. This is fucking cool.
Yeah.
And I just kept going with the flow, and like they make funny memories, but they also make really regretful memories.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish that, like, there even were times where people were just like, relax a little bit. I'm just like, fine, like, just leave me alone. I'm my own person. I do this all the fucking time. I know what I'm doing, but really I don't. I just don't like being told what to do, because that's all that I've ever been.
You're gonna have to get used to that.
Yeah.
In the army.
Yeah. But like, I don't know. I guess I kind of abused my freedom now that I actually had it.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is what it's like.
It's like your first taste of it.
Yeah. I'm like, this is cool. Staying up late every night, just going somewhere, like some random place. Going to the beach at 2 a.m. for no reason, just to go to the beach at 2 a.m.
Sleep.
Yeah, people sleep at 2 a.m. because they wake up early, but not me. I like having fun, and it kind of bit me in the ass a lot, especially with school, because I wasn't really doing much of my homework. But I did learn to like.
You graduated, right?
Yeah, I still graduated. But I just kind of like learned to like slow down. Not every day. If something does happen, you don't have to go abuse your limit.
Yeah, just take it easy.
Yeah,
take a step back.
Like do it for fun, not for
trying to like show people like.
Yeah,
listen to me.
or like trying to like shove something down.
Do you ever feel like, I guess, like you're putting almost like at times a fake image of yourself? Cause I'll be honest, I'm not trying to like diss you or anything, but like I said, I've known Carlos for like since 6th grade, and nothing wrong with it. But I've noticed that like it seems like you're constantly Snapchatting now or stuff like that. Yeah. Do you ever feel like at times almost you had to put up like this fake act?
I had a conversation with a friend once, and we both do the same thing, but every single day it's like we both put on a fake mask where it's just like us being happy all the time.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the times I just kind of wish I'd be left alone. But like I just don't like appearing as like a downer or anything, so I just kind of like keep that to myself.
Yeah.
And when I'm with other people, I make them feel better, because like what good are you gonna get from moping around all day or whatever? That's just something I keep to myself. But even when I am alone, I'm never alone because I'm always on my phone, and like it's the same thing. I would just talk to people all the time because like instead of feeling sad, I'd rather just
helped
be
you
like,
kind of like.
yeah, and then I would always be like, hey, what's going on? Talk to me, and then I would help people out with themselves instead of myself.
Well, it's been a pretty real interview. What's something that a memory you're gonna take that's just gonna keep you happy during boot camp? Something like one of your fondest memories of this senior year.
I made a lot of those this year. But if I had to bring it down to just one memory,
how about you go to your top 3? You can do whichever one.
I'll figure something out. So, let me think real quick. It wasn't like senior year, but it was going into senior. Okay, so there was this one football game. I think it was like the first football game or whatever. And I'm with James. And it was like our old group of friends. And we're in the parking lot after the football game. We're the first ones out there, and we're just in his Toyota Camry. And then someone was like, hey, James, this girl likes you. And then he's like, oh, really? And then, because that's what James would do. He just goes like, oh, really, huh? Or he's like, yeah? And then he started playing Colt 45 really loud in his Camry in the parking lot. And then everyone that was coming out of the game was going into the parking lot, and then they were hearing the music, and then it was just a bunch of people just like dancing to the song, singing along and stuff, and like people were just like driving their cars around like super crazy and stuff.
There you go.
And there's this one time where we went to, I don't know what school it was, but it was like a elementary school or middle school, but we just got a shit ton of fireworks and we lit them off in the parking lot, and then it was like 3 cars and we all drove away super quick. And there's this one time where we did a bottle run at a Vons somewhere like north, so you can't find me. And it was one person, there's 2 people that walked in, and then as soon as they got the stuff, it was like one car leaves, another car leaves, another car leaves. It was like something you see in a movie where they just robbed a bank successfully. It's just stuff like that. It's like really short, fun, like 30 seconds of like excitement.
It's like adrenaline.
Yeah, like that I carry with me the most, because it's like, it's just fun to have.
Fun. You're just having fun with the boys.
It's like, nothing was ever planned, which what made it fun.
Yeah, it was just kind of on a whim.
Yeah.
You leave July 15th. We're going to do one more interview after his boot camp. That's how long is it again?
17 weeks.
17 weeks.
Before Thanksgiving, I should be back.
Before Thanksgiving, we'll be back. We're going to do another interview. If you are interested, stay tuned. That'll probably be a while, obviously, but... thank you for doing the interview. I know it was hard at times, but we really do appreciate it. Do you have any last things you want to say to the people before you go off to boot camp?
If there's one piece of advice that I give to anyone, it's just to, like, no matter how... I'm going to steal it from Spider-Man because I like it a lot. But, like, no matter how hard
power comes great responsibility.
It was, no matter how hard you get hit, will you always find the strength to get back up? And I've gotten hit pretty hard. And I feel like if I never did get back up, I wouldn't be anywhere. I wouldn't be here right now, But the fact that you keep going and like you just keep getting up after being knocked down constantly just kind of builds strength, and it just kind of shows, people like, I could probably do that.
Yeah.
You
can get through it. You can do it.
So that's the mentality I'm going to keep with me when I go to Special Forces training, because I was going to make this into a military career. So with Special Forces, you get more money, high risk pay, because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
But like, if I'm going to make it through the training, I got to get hit really hard, and I got to get that strength to get back up. And if I don't have that, then I'm just not meant to be there.
There you guys go. Good final words. besides that, you guys, stay tuned. We'll have a couple more interviews coming up soon with a couple other people. We're going to get another one in for him before Thanksgiving when he comes back. Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Wish him the best of luck, you guys. We are out of here. Go like that. Go like this. Go here. Out of here.
We're out of here.
And then ready, special effects in 3, 2, 1. And it goes.